Hello, I'm FGX Toycat, and I will admit right now that I'm a more paranoid person than most. That's why when I designed the world's smallest house that works after the 1.14 update with all of its brand new blocks, I designed it with a big fence of fire going on all sides of it, so that if you wanted to get near my house, you'd be set on fire before you could. This is because, it's a bit weird sleeping in a 3-block wide house. It's not very safe, especially with all of the holes that you can see in it, but it's something that I designed as kind of like a paranoid security measure. But today I wanted to make something that makes this look like a house with an open door with a sign saying please rob me, because I wanted to make the most paranoid, most defended house you can have in Minecraft, a house that you can sleep in every night and know that you're 100% safe because there's no chance mobs can get anywhere nearby, and if somehow they did, you would be notified long before that happened. So let's dive straight into this episode of the Update Adventures. So let's start by working out where we want a house, because a big flat area like this is actually a pretty good place for a paranoid house because you can see for a long way around you. However, plains biomes, unless it's lit up, is somewhere where mobs will spawn at night, because any non-transparent block, including the netherrack, the grass, the stone, etc., is able to spawn mobs if the light level gets low enough. My plan to get around this is to make the house out of glass, which, as you are hopefully aware, is a transparent block in Minecraft. And my plan is also to make it in an area which is surrounded by ice, another transparent block where mobs cannot spawn, even when it's dark, because this is another security measure. This area right here will actually do really nicely. If you're lucky, you'll find in your ocean biomes random little parts of it that are just made of small land areas which, even with a modest number of torches, even 20 torches, you can light up the entire area to the level where none of these grass blocks whatsoever should spawn with any mobs. And again, we can confirm that pretty easily by just placing the torches here, even if we didn't torch this up correctly. And you can probably spot an area where we haven't done it in the way you would like to do, because we are standing on this island, because this is where we'll be living. While we are on the island, no mobs can spawn. This is because the minimum number of blocks a mob can spawn away from you is 16. By the way, I thought I just made a horrible mistake there, because there's a skeleton that's clearly spawned on the ice, and ice is a transparent block. So I was like, oh no, mobs can spawn on transparent blocks. That isn't true, and that's the reason why glass is such a clever block, and why you can even use half slabs sometime. But it seems as though Bedrock either has a bug or an exception that means that on ice, mobs can spawn, which is interesting in my opinion. Our location may be great in terms of the vantage point and safety by seeing, but it does have a big issue on that front. However, that's one we can mitigate with our next level of defense, because although our island is safe and mobs are most likely not going to be able to get anywhere near it because it's sufficiently lit up, and when we're here, they can't spawn anywhere closer than about there anyway. They'd have to walk over of their own accord because they can't even see me from this distance. You see that spider? That spider doesn't have as good eyes as I can because he can't see me and therefore doesn't want to attack me. So yeah, let's go to our next layer of defense, which is actually going to involve some of the leftover cakes that I made for the 400th episode of the Let's Play, where I made a bunch of cakes. It's a weird situation, but cakes are genuinely a good defense implement, as you're about to see. So in case you're curious about how cakes can be used as a real defense mechanism, because that does sound a bit crazy on the surface, I will freely admit right now. First of all, let me show you the fact you can use cakes as a staircase if you so choose, as long as you know which way the cake is facing, because as you eat a little bit of the cake, you make it possible to climb a very, very, very mild incline. But as you can see, you can slowly make a staircase which exists in just one block, making it a very, very steep staircase, meaning we can have a staircase up into something that only takes one block. It's kind of like a ladder, but it's a ladder that mobs cannot use, because mobs don't really know how to climb cakes in general. Not really built into their AI, but somewhat obvious reasons, I hope. But here's the interesting thing about cakes as a staircase. Also, they're not just safe because mobs don't know how to make this jump followed by this jump, etc. over and over and over again. It's also safe because of the fact that cakes are breakable instantly with pistons. Meaning that if we place a cake down on a block, like I'm going to show you right here, and then we place a piston next to the block that can move said block, then we activate the piston, which we'll do with, I guess, a button, because who doesn't love a good old stone button? But yeah, what you can actually do using a button right here is you can move the block, but when you move the block, the cake just breaks. You don't get the cake back, it just breaks, it vanishes. And this means, let's say you had multiple cakes on a block. This is a very wasteful way to prove a point, but let's say you had 2 cakes on a block. Let's say one of them even had a slicing out of it. So this is a representation of the staircase. As soon as the bottom cake is moved, every cake on top of it also breaks as well, which is kind of tragic because it's a waste of cakes. But as you can see, the cakes just vanish, meaning you can have a staircase which is immediately retractable if something dangerous happens or looks like it's about to. Say there's a pillager raid, or there's a mob that looks like for some reason, in a future update, they can climb the cake staircase. You can make a kind of backup mechanism just using pistons. By the way, I think once you place down a cake, cake, there's no way to get it back up. I think if you break it even with silk touch, yeah, you don't get anything from it. So here is a waste of some cakes that you now get to see. And here is the most tempting button in the world to press to immediately remove the entire staircase, or if you so chose to, you could perhaps also use a bow from the top of this and you could shoot said button. As long as it's a wooden button, of course. So this is now the decoy stone button that everyone's gonna think is a self-destruct switch, but maybe it can play a noise or something instead. And instead, let me illustrate my point using this wooden button, which means that as you can see, as long as there is an arrow pressing down this button, the piston is extended, which in this case, if it hits this one, which we're not gonna have it hit right now, but it would destroy the entire staircase. Which admittedly is a very wasteful thing to do, but you know what? Things are wasteful in Minecraft sometimes. That's a fact you just have to accept. So the great thing about Cake Staircase is even though it's not properly sorted out yet, we need to eat a lot more of it, the cool thing is while we build the rest of it, we're going to get an appetite that we can slowly eat our way through and make the staircase work. So that's wonderful. Next up, we need to make a floor for our place, and we want to make it entirely out of bottom slabs, if possible, because top slabs are like, again, they're like a solid block, whereas bottom slabs aren't solid, so you can't stand on them. But if you're high up above the ground, it can be really tricky to work out, is this a top or a bottom slab? I mean, it's not actually possible to tell, because everything kind of looks together, right? And then you see it like this, and you realize, oh, this is a bottom slab, meaning this is a bottom slab too. Whereas if you have a block which looks something like this, where you can see it's two separate half slabs, this is a bottom, this is a top. Two half slabs will combine and make a block if they're in the block format, whereas otherwise they will not. Which in other words means this is perfectly lined up to have an entire house made from bottom slabs. And now we're gonna make a vaguely circular pattern on top of this, which is easy enough to do in my experience. The way I like to try and make circles in Minecraft, because although it's like an easy enough formula once you understand that you're just trying to alter the angle of the curve always, like once you understand the maths behind it, it makes sense, but most people aren't super mathematically minded, and sometimes even then you're gonna make mistakes. The thing I always recommend is start with a quarter of the circle, because then you're just kind of duplicating the same thing 4 times, and if you get a quarter of the circle and it looks like a quarter circle, you're great. Whereas if it looks like right now, actually I would say this is vaguely quarter of a circle, right? Then you're in a good place, right? So yeah, looking at this quarter circle, you can see how it vaguely works, except I've made one pretty crucial mistake and I've had a lot of my cake not line up with it. So I have to shift everything a block that way. But besides that, we did a solid enough job. By the way, because the ice mechanic thing is counterintuitive, and it's a bit scary seeing this number of creepers, given what we're making our house out of, something I'm gonna do real quick, just to test this point, is, by the way, is there, like, phantom light here? Where is the light coming from? But what we're going to do is we're going to leave this area that we've made so far. In fact, we'll even make it a bit bigger, and we're going to confirm that no mobs will spawn anywhere around here by flying away. Because again, right now, I'm standing here, so the mobs physically cannot spawn. But if I stand a little bit further away, then we should be able to truly test that. Because one of the things about Minecraft that is kind of problematic, and I'll admit I've probably assisted towards once or twice without realizing, is there are so many myths in the game that just start because someone said something, they don't test it, but it becomes widespread fact. Even at one point, the Minecraft wiki used to say that sugarcane would grow faster on sand than it does on dirt, but that's something that I've tested millions of times and not found any proof for, because it's just one of those things. People say it, doesn't make it true. We all kind of intuitively have something inside of us where we believe things that match with what we say much more easily, whereas I kind of have like this big, I disagree with what most people say most of the time, which partially I would say stems from the same paranoia of my Minecraft house, design skills. But it's something that I feel like is probably better not to have in general, because you can trust most people most of the time. It's just that that trust, that intuitive trust, is abused by a lot of people. You know, famously a lot of people in some amount of power, but even without any amount of power, even just people sharing things amongst themselves, some, memes, some pieces of knowledge will share that don't have a factual basis, that can actually cause harm even. Sometimes that even goes against the desire of the person who created the thing in the first place, which I think is wonderful. I don't know, there's so many examples in the world of where someone has tried their best to create something and achieved the opposite. The person who made the AK-47 is depressed as heck. I think he's only died recently. Like, he's depressed that he created the most deadly device in the human history. You might think that nukes have caused more deaths, but no, AK-47, hundreds of millions of them produced, and most of them have seen some form of action, so many people have died because of this one invention. Because even though you think of it as a Soviet weapon, it's actually one which has seen, again, a lot of weapons were given by the Soviets to other countries, and that's why that's a thing. But even just beyond, like the AK-47, the guy who created shopping malls hates the fact that they draw people away from cities, even though that's kind of how they're designed. A lot of people make things that are against their own ambitions, and I think a lot of rumors kind of start that way too, where something feels right, even though it intuitively isn't, and it leads to some problems. By the way, you'll notice how there's not a single mob up here, and part of that might be because of these weird phantom light sources, which we'll just take advantage of for now. But a lot of it is because this is the bottom half of the half slab, meaning even when we're not home, mobs cannot spawn, or every mob that exists in Minecraft to this date, we should clarify. But that's it, that's nice and wonderful, right? So now let's finish off this kind of circular base that's going to be made entirely from non-mob spawnable blocks. And let's talk the tiniest amount about paranoia, I guess, because this might be something that, even though I kind of make jokes about it in a bunch of places, it is something that I would describe as like one of my defining personality traits, whether I want it to be or not. In fact, I don't think anyone should ever want it. I think it's one of those things that's seen as inherently negative, but it makes you realize that there are a lot of things about everyone that are inherently negative, right? But just because there's something about you which isn't inherently positive, it doesn't mean you aren't a positive person, because everyone is made from like different experiences and stuff, and those different experiences, different like biases, mostly negative biases, let's be honest. Most people suck more than they have things that are great about them, but those inherent biases, negative or positive, are the things that make you a unique person, which give you unique perspectives on things. And the point is that you don't necessarily have to be defined by something that's bad, or even better than that, because I think like using something as a strength is kind of this way of saying, hey, if you have something that's unfixable, work for it. I think when it's like something that you could describe as like an inherent bias, a trait, something like that, one of the easiest things you can do, or one of the best things you could do that's not very easy, I should say, is to try and counteract those negative biases. A lot of people who have, I don't know, let's name something, like who have traits that are described as OCD, but actual people with OCD would not agree with that. But like, if you're a super orderly person to the degree where it hurts everyone in your life, try and be laid back in certain circumstances. Obviously, you can't be laid back all the time for everything. Obviously, there's gonna be a part of you that's not happy, but try and work out, how you can be more not that, but also how you can, at the same time as doing that, find people around you who are more okay with those things. One of the things that has helped me beyond anything is finding people who understand, like, hey, yeah, I get how you are, and I'm okay with that. We made a mistake somewhere because this doesn't line up with that. And this is the worst thing in the world. I think it's just we don't have enough. Actually, wait, how is this possible? I'm really hungry, and you know what that means. It's time to eat a bunch of cakes. Cakes are a really terrible food, by the way. Like, there's no good reason you should use them in survival, solo at least. However, you better believe eating them to make a staircase is one of the best things about Minecraft. But yeah, let's quickly work out what we've done wrong here. This is a common problem I have when I make a lot of builds, but spotting the problem early and fixing it from there is a good idea. So I think all it is we just need an extra block here, and then there, and then from there, we have the 4B here instead, and that should line up perfectly. Oh no, are we still not lined up? Okay, now I am just perplexed. Oh, no, I see it. I'm an idiot. Okay, and now we've got, hopefully, a pretty well-centered thing. Always good to check from the middle before we properly finish this up. So we'll place a slab, we'll place our scaffolding, because you need to get a good viewpoint. Scaffolding is such a cool block just for this reason. Like, I used to trash it so badly, but it's the block I've been most wrong about with Minecraft, I'd say. But yeah, you can see how so far we're getting a pretty good circle vibe going on here. Okay, we've made a lot of mistakes in a row here, which is fine. It's part of the building process. Better to spot them early. Oh no, wait. Oh god. Everything is wrong. Okay, I thought the last quarter of something would always be the easiest, but I think, like, that kind of bias to thinking something's going to be easy means you might end up putting less effort into it. Might make it a lot harder. So we're going to try this one more time, and we're going to pray this just magically lines up. And, you know what? If you believe that something's going to work, sometimes it just kind of magically does, just like that. Okay, the outline's done. We just finished the last of the blocks in the middle now. Of course, in the meantime, we continue to work on the cake staircase of dreams. Very fun thing to work on. And then we've got ourselves an all but finished base. Again, I just about ran out of stone slabs. I need to make some more using a stone cutter because it's the most efficient way, blah, blah, blah. But now we can switch out to using glass, and we're going to make a little bit of a glass cage around this because, again, one of the safest ways to be secure would be to have a house with no walls. I mean, This sounds counterintuitive, but if you know you're in the sky where mobs can't get you anyway, why would you have to worry about those things? However, there's two things. One would be, you know, again, in theory, a spider could crawl up here or something along those lines. And then also, there are some mobs that come from the sky. Right now, it's just the Phantom after 3 days of not sleeping, which we're going to trigger soon because I've not been sleeping while building this. Real life or Minecraft, I guess. And yeah, basically, we're going to go ahead and make ourselves a big glass shield because the cool thing about glass is mobs can't spawn on it. It's got that same transparent property to it. But also the transparency works the other way too, in that it gives us like a secure way to look outside of our house while still being protected from the outside. And yeah, so we're gonna make all of the walls and any form of ceiling out of glass so we can see what's going on out there. Again, it seems like this would be the least secure house type because you might think, oh, glass is super not resistance to, you know, like to explosions and stuff. But the truth is, if creepers can't get to your house, and even if they could, if creepers were directly outside, you'd be able to see them. And as long as a creeper, you know, it can see you, but if it sees you through glass, it doesn't matter. A creeper has to have direct physical line of sight to you to be able to attack you, which it doesn't have if you have glass in your house. So yeah, a nice glass perimeter is actually going to make this work out well for us. We could dye the glass, and I think a lot of people have a propensity towards stained glass, but personally, I really do have this strong belief that, like, regular glass, especially new regular glass, has this really clean look to it, and it's, like, basic in a way, but also it's beautiful because it's basic. I think there are some things that definitely benefit from being not so complex, and I think glass is definitely one of them. So yeah, things are coming along quite nicely here, actually. You can see the protection we're creating. You can also see, though, one of the downsides is that we've got a very dark underneath here, which doesn't matter when it's nighttime because it's dark anyway, but during the day, it's going to create a higher propensity for mobs to spawn, which means one of the things I think would be clever to avoid this happening, again, I don't want mobs anywhere near my stuff, let alone right there, is to light up the underneath of it. So ice will melt whenever it gets up to a light level below 10. If you're curious, a light level of 14 is what a torch has. So this block is 13, this is 12, this is 11, this is 10, therefore the ice doesn't melt. If I place a torch right here, I mean, I'm sure you don't need to see that a torch next to ice melts, right? Do you need to? Just in case you do, here's a torch. In a little bit, we'll have no ice. So we can use this exact same logic of like, okay, so 14, too bright, 10 is just the right level. Anything below 7 is mob spawning, even during the daytime. We can use this to work out how many things we should have below the base of this. Because this is a bottom slab, it means we can actually place blocks underneath it if we want to, including the trusty sea lantern. That's right, it's been so long. I'm not even memeing around. This isn't a custom texture pack. It is literally still called the sea lantern in Minecraft Bedrock. We can use the sea lantern, which we'll just do right now. We can actually probably place it in a consistent pattern, but if we place a sea lantern just over there, you can see how it lights up not only the bottom, which is kind of pleasing looking, but also it will keep this thing well lit enough that mobs won't be able to spawn here too. In fact, it even works at night. So just in case you're paranoid about things spawning below your house, you can also work on that. Again, floating houses, great concept, but they have the weakness of the underside, especially if you make it not out of a glass bottom, because we could have the bottom be made out of glass too, but I think it's better aesthetically not to. But if you want to cover that, all you have to do is light the underneath of your house. And the best bit about the bottom is because, you know, it's covered by a bottom slab, which means it doesn't matter what you do under here because the topmost block, which is the one that matters, is going to be a half slab and unspawnable if you so want to. So it's kind of wasteful to have a sea lantern up there because that is a 15 light level source, meaning this is 14, this is 13, this is 12, 11, 10, and then this is 9, meaning it provides a light level of 8 to the surface down here. Meaning if you want to be really efficient with your sea lanterns, or you can use glowstone, it's the same level too, what you do is you remove the block, which is sad, and then you place a couple of these instead, and you hang the sea lanterns from those, because it's very much called the sea lantern. And this means that this light level down here is exactly 10, which is the perfect level in terms of not melting the ice. By the way, there's the torch. Notice how the ice next to it has melted now, which is not what you want in the game. We're going to have to replace those ice blocks now. You see the pain I go through for you, but you'll notice how just below here, if I'm not mistaken, this block right here will not melt because it's perfectly light level 10. Well, that also means that this level right here is light level 9, this is light level 8, this is light level 7, meaning that there is a little square around it where, you know, mobs cannot spawn, which means we can use this efficiently, and we can work out the gap between these, therefore. If this is 10, that's 9, that's 8, that's 7, the lowest level we ever want it to be, and then this can be 8, then 9, then 10, which means this should be where your next one should be. Although we don't have a ceiling, to place it on right now. But this would be the most efficient way to do it, and that's what I'm going to do in a second as soon as we finish those slabs, which we really should have done a long time ago. By the way, oh no, I ate the cake at the wrong time, but it's fine. Okay, pro tip, don't always crouch place when you're placing cakes so you don't eat them by accident. But yeah, now we've got a pretty much functional staircase on one side. We just got to do it on the other side, and we're golden. So more cake eating, my favorite task that I can do and technically be working on a Minecraft build. This is a bit of an uncomfortable place to rest a bed, but for now it will have to do. And yeah, we're going to make like a little portable station up here so we can do things like craft the last of the stone slabs that we just need to finish this up. Okay, so now we've finished the ceiling, we can actually work on these blocks a little bit better. So let's explain how this one works. We want to have a lot of overlapping light level 7s, which again, you can work out based on that's 15. Every block it goes in any direction lowers it by 1 light level, meaning that, like we just mentioned before, this is where we need another one. Again, 2 blocks below the surface, but you can work this out yourself depending on how high you make your thing. Mine just involved a cake staircase from a specific height right there. But yeah, we can have another one of these right here, and this means that their light level 7s are going to overlap. Then we can have another one doing the exact same logic but going sideways. So again, using this as our midpoint of 7, which a lot of lanterns are going to be covering, this is 7, this is 8, this is 9, this is 10, and then 5 blocks up from here is where your lantern should be. And then you should end up with perfect diagonal distances that are exactly the same between all your little posts, and that can keep an area well lit from above. It's actually a cool use for the sea lantern, in my opinion. Again, that's what this is called. It's the sea lantern, guys. Don't try and correct me on it, because the game itself calls it that. But yeah, you can use this exact same pattern. And once you get the hang of it, you can just start following the pattern rather than thinking about the light levels. Well, you shouldn't, but you can. And you know what? Doing things you shouldn't do. Basically my middle name, right? And yeah, with relatively little effort, you'll get something that looks like this. It's a bit unbalanced. I would say if you want it to be truly effective, like in terms of aesthetics, you could do it everywhere, but that's not my goal today. So you know what? You can take your aesthetics and put them in a place that you think would look very good. Speaking of things that look good, guess who gets to eat even more of the cake staircase? It's just so satisfying seeing it finally come together. Although now's a good time to mention, having a perfectly open door, like we do right now, not the best idea. So what we need to do is we need to have, at the very edge here, some form of doorway mechanism. So I'm gonna, I think the iron door's a solid method. I think having like a pre-lobby area where any dangerous things can be screened is also a great idea. Again, these are both ideas we're working with right now. By the way, I kind of realized this by accident because I placed some glass in the place it shouldn't have been, but let me show you something that I think is wonderful, because instead of just using, because the downside, obviously, to using the sea lanterns is you light it up, but you don't fix the vision problem. Because I was just plugging in some gaps that I didn't previously have filled, you can use glass and achieve the exact same thing. It has this weird effect where it looks like a half slab of glass, at least to me it does. But yeah, then you actually can see yourself down there as well, which is fascinating to me. So yeah, you could also have a bunch of glass holes in your thing. I think it probably, also glass hole sounds like a funny insult, but, not only is it like potentially the same in terms of effect because it lets light through in the day, but also it has the benefit of letting you see down there. Although you could probably combine both lighting and glass if you want to be really effective, but that's a idea for another day. My idea right now is just patch in these holes finally. Also, when you place a glass block down, there's a really weird rendering glitch effect. Watch out for it. Oh, by the way, I think the moment has finally come where we can finally eat enough cake to actually finish the cake staircase on both sides. That's right, we finally did it. It's happened. We're good. Can you place iron door on glass, by the way? Oh, you can. So what we're going to do as a workaround for this is have glass be there so we can see people who are trying to climb the entranceway too. And then also we've got this going on right here. We can have some form of button system in place to open it. For now, we'll just have like some levers, I guess. Oh, this is a crazy 1 in 100 chance, but a spider has spawned with a skeleton on its back, also known as a spider jockey. This is a 1 in 100 chance. It doesn't have any real benefits gameplay-wise. It's literally just a skeleton is on top of a spider. But still, it's cool to see. So here's what we're looking at so far. It already looks pretty darn secure, right? That bed is pretty much untouchable by mobs because of all the security layers, but we've still got some problems we're gonna have to work out. So next is gonna come the glass dome, because right now, this is my 3rd night without sleeping. I've been working on the Minecraft build, but this is, something I feel like we need to work on having a proper security above it, and then we can work on the security around the island, which is the next point of vulnerability. It's really sad to go back to eating just regular food. I miss the days where we could eat cakes and work on our building skills at the same time as, eating food. Very tragic, very tragic. So it's dark, it's raining, and all I've got to do now is place a bunch of glass, and I feel like that's the perfect opportunity, if there ever was one, to tell you about what I've been up to this week. You know, it's a mainstay in the Let's Play videos, even the weirder Let's Play style videos like this one, because in case you're curious about that by the way, I guess we should address that as something. Honestly, I like to vary up the content of the Let's Plays, and really every series on this channel, because there are some series where it feels like, oh yeah, you go through the motions, you make something that's easy to make, and I feel like I enjoy making those things a lot of the time, but I often feel the least satisfied with the reaction to them. It feels like making something that is very easy to work out before you've even watched it. It almost defeats the point of having made a piece of content as opposed to having just made an idea, right? Like, an idea is interesting, but an idea with an interesting, like, output is way more fun to do. And that's why this thing, which was not going to be a Let's Play, I figured, you know, let's do it in Let's Play style. Let's make it, you know, the 40-ish minutes, which is now the standard for Let's Play. I don't know if that'll hold up, because it's been at least a couple of hours so far. But, like, you know, why don't we try and, you know, have something in a kind of a newish format. And that's what we're kind of starting here today, and that's kind of fun. So, yeah, that's kind of actually a lot of the theme of what I've been up to this past week, because yeah, I'm very, very, very busy. I'm very, very, very broken with how my sleeping has been going. Again, I honestly, like, a broken sleep schedule is only bad if you unintentionally break it, right? I think there are lots of bad decisions you can make that aren't actually bad if you know what you're doing. In general, that's true at least. Like, you're not having an unhealthy meal or something along those lines. It's not bad unless you keep having unhealthy meals even when you intend to have good ones. If you literally don't care about your health and you've looked into the reasons why you should care, and you think to yourself, you know what, honestly, who wants to live past 40? Honestly, I don't want to be skinny because I want to be able to, I don't know, like, what can you do? Like, I guess you can, like, whack into people way better. Like, honestly, here's the deal. I would lose a fight to anyone who weighs, like, you know, 1.5 times my weight, because more weight is just an advantage in the fighting realm. Maybe that's a big thing to you, and maybe who cares about the benefits and the health downsides and upsides and stuff, then yeah, you know, why would you need to? And there's lots of way more micro versions of that, but my point is like, sleeping, as long as you're sleeping the right amount, it doesn't technically matter when you sleep. It's just the downsides usually come from the social thing that comes with it. But to me, that's been non-existent, because again, I'm succeeding with the biggest part of my life, which is the, I guess let's call it work, you know, if you're down to call YouTube stuff work. I've been, you know, like, I've been making videos still, it works just fine. I've been just about eating okay. Realistically, no, because, like, most food places aren't open at the right times for me to go. Like, getting fruit has been a whole pain. I've been trying to contact someone for, like, days, but because I wake up after, like, business hours are over, it's like, oh god, this is a whole thing. So besides, like, a couple of downsides, it's actually been kind of a good time, and it means that I'm gonna avoid a lot more pain later. Like, life is a series of, like, trade-offs, really, is what I'm trying to say right here. And sometimes it seems weird when you watch someone make a really weird trade-off, like the one between sleeping at weird times and other stuff like that. But sometimes it's a worthwhile trade-off to make, and you just gotta appreciate how people choose to do that. Some people focus on money above everything else. You know, I would say a lot of my life comes down to that sometimes. Some people focus on the pursuit of other things above all else. And you just gotta realize that, like, yeah, people gonna make decisions like this. Oh, I see what I've done wrong here. It's because this is where the start is. It got really confusing for me, okay? But yeah, let's now have a second layer up on this same thing. Much easier to do a second one, although actually, let's pick up the glass first. Which has this weird X-ray effect on pretty much every block it goes on. You can see how glass, the block behind glass, the item, causes really confusing things to happen. I should totally take advantage of this someday. But besides that, I would mostly describe this week as being one where I kind of organized how things should be for myself a little better. I've kind of been in this aimless void where, like, one of the hardest things to do, again, one of the most important things for me to feel functional is to have, like, some amount of future planned ahead of me, like some structure for how things should be, and to feel good about those structures, those things I've got ahead of me. There has been a while now on the channel. I think I mentioned this briefly before, but, like, whenever things go downhill on the channel, like, things in my, like, I feel much less stable about life as a whole, because, you know, I chose to work in one of the most unstable, insecure, bouncing around for pretty much no reason fields, right? Like, YouTube, you know, makes changes all the times, which hugely, you know, can cost literally in some cases, thousands of dollars, or even if you're doing well enough on a month, like thousands of dollars a month in just lost income for the same work because the system you're working under changes. And although that's like a part of life as a wider whole, it's still something that's scary to work within, and kind of seeing the number of channels who do go down that way. Like, there are so many people, you don't care about them now because guess what, they're not promoted anymore. There are so many people who once made a living from this and now do not because, you know, they were disfavored by some system here or there, whether that be advertising based or revenue based. And that's something that, you know, feels like it's going to happen all the time. I don't know whether it will with the particular recent wave, but yeah, I don't know, like, to kind of counteract the insecurity of that, it's been nice to have like things vaguely planned in my own head. And for the first time, like, things are going bad on some surface level, but I feel like they're good on the underlying thing. I feel happy and confident in my underlying life, let's call it. And that's, I think that's a good thing. That's a thing to be proud of on some level, if nothing else. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty good overall. I've been really busy, and mostly just like every waking moment has been like working on a thing or working on the systems by which I work on things. Which sounds like maybe to some people not great, but again, I like what I do enough. Or you know, I like the things I've chosen to do enough that that's a thing. There's a lot of things I've chosen not to do actually. Like yeah, last week I mentioned very briefly, like, hey, there's some cool brand deals coming up. There's one of the things I decided not to do, despite the huge offer in relation to it, was like, let's be honest, it's Raid Shadow Legends. I got a huge offer, like, it's in the thousands to like do something. But as soon as I read through it, they're like, oh, here are the talking points you have to mention. Like, you know, like, you have to say these exact words. And it's like, well, no, you want to put words in my mouth. They even re-offered it again with like a slightly, you know, better offer. And it's like, no, as long as, if you need me to say something about your game, if it's not good enough to stand with my own words, you know, my own positive opinions, if they were going to be positive, I haven't played it yet, I'll be honest with you. You know, I would play it before, obviously, making a video of some form. But you see the point, they're like, yeah, in general, that's a thing. I've also turned down, like, a texture pack review because someone was like, hey, I'll pay you this amount just to show off my texture pack on YouTube. But then I was like, hey, my opinion's not for sale. I'll be honest about it. I don't know if I'll like it yet. And they're like, no. There's been a lot of things that I've been able to turn down that were, like, horrific decisions on some level. But it makes me feel better on a creative level. And it's kind of cool that I can make those decisions recently. And it's, something I guess I'm grateful for because it's been possible because of all the, like, streaming that I guess we've gone into and all the fact that, you know, like that's like a direct source of revenue from you, the viewers. That means that I'm not so directly beholden to, like, take on extra deals. And because, you know, right now, most YouTubers diversify their income pretty well. Mine is all on the YouTube end of things. So, like, taking steps on that, like, oh yeah, there's the second channel, and also having more things to kind of avoid that is good, so that I can also choose not to be like, well, it's, you know, take the $5,000 or so, or, you know, just lose that forever. It feels like, oh yeah, well, I'm not just making a good decision or a bad decision. There's like a nice in-between step as well. By the way, I think having this much glass without any other blocks in between is going to look a bit confusing as we go up, but I think that's mostly a fine compromise in exchange for the pure vision we get in every single direction. So that's kind of nice in that way. So anyway, my week has been crazy focused on the work fundamentals, let's call it, the things that you see on this channel, which is maybe cool to hear, but I also worry that the thing I will always kind of make sure I try to avoid is eventually at some point, like, you need to be a person outside. Oh, I broke the wrong block there. You need to be a person outside of YouTube as well. Like, I think the most interesting YouTubers are people who spend all day on YouTube because you need to be a person to be a YouTuber. Fun fact, you know, you might not have known this, but to be an interesting, like, you know, a person in any form of life where you have to relate to people, you have to also first be a person, and most people cannot relate to the struggle of being a YouTuber, which is why I've always, which is why I feel less bad about kind of like living my dream to some extent, which is what right now, as this video goes live, I just enjoyed Thanksgiving in America for the first time. That's cool. Or it might have been cool. I might have died in a car crash for all we know. That'd be cool if this was my last video. But, you know, I always think that, sadly, these videos keep going up and I don't die in, like, automobile crashes. So, I mean, what a tragedy, am I right? But, you know, there really is this kind of factor to me of, like, there is a certain degree to which you need to be a real person. And there's also a certain degree to which you needed to be the same YouTube face, blah, 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 that you always are. So, you know, like, to always be on you. There's a part of you that needs to be always drawn away from YouTube, and there's part that always needs drawn in. And it's kind of fun that I feel like the first time, I don't feel like it's balanced, but I feel like I'm really happy with the balance we do have. But also, I want to do bigger, better things, which is what is good, right? I want to do things while also knowing that they're not needed right now or I will starve. It's a nice balance. I feel like that's like the dream for anyone in life, right? Like there are so many people live some form of unstable life, I would describe it as. So it's nice when that's not you, at least for me. So phantoms are definitely going to spawn tonight, if logic holds up at least, which means I'm going to finish the roof of this real fast. We're going to have it mostly be a flat roof, again, made out of glass, because we want to be able to see pretty clearly what's directly above me. But we'll have like some point on there to make it more distinctive from a distance. Or maybe we won't actually. Maybe it looks better if we don't have a point on the roof. Because most people, when they make roofs in Minecraft, they make some form of curvature roof thing. But who's to say that's even a good idea? I'm not to say, that's for sure. But yeah, I guess if there's if there's one kind of thing that my god, this is a hard thing to navigate. If there's like one thing that I would like message from all of this, it's that it's really easy to get trapped in the logic that you are just the things that you do. And I don't think that should always be what you're thinking, but I also think at the same time, because there's lots of people who are like, hey, follow your dreams all the time forever. Don't even think about the practical ramifications of what that means for the world. I actually don't agree with that one all the way either. What I actually think is the right balance is like, we live in a world that values you mostly for the things you do, which isn't even directly a bad thing because that's what leads to so many people able to do whatever things you want for you. You know, there's so many things that are only possible because other people have to work so hard on them. So like 40 something weeks of the year, or you know, if you live in America, 50 something weeks in the year. You know, like, actually, no, I guess it would still be 40, like 9 weeks or something in the year. Like, depending on where you live and what field of work, you know, whether if you're in some form of college right now, it's fewer weeks than if you're in school, which is fewer weeks than if you're at most workplaces. The things you output are the things that are, you know, that's the majority of what you are as a person. And learning to enjoy that is important. But also learning that, like, you know, even if you don't in any time being, knowing how you can get back to enjoying it and knowing what makes that at least fun in some way. Because there's something everyone enjoys about work, right? Even though it's like the worst thing, it's like the best thing. You know, let me think of a similar example. You know, if we go from health to work or something, you know, I really hate, I don't know what, like the super wide onion rings that are basically the size of an onion, but I also love them, you know? I really hate literally just eating sugar, but also when I make lemonade, you better believe it's mostly that. It hurts me, but I like it, you know? And that's always been my attitude towards certain things in the work sphere. Because it's also how I get the best out of myself by like squeezing it out of me all in one, and then... Because I realized somewhat early on, like, as well as having somewhat paranoid of a personality, as you might be able to tell from the the glass house we're building in Minecraft, protect my bed. But as well as having a pretty, I guess, like, again, paranoid personality, I would also say I've got a very addictive, but like psychologically addictive personality. I want to absorb all of something if I'm into it, not just a little bit, you know? And yeah, basically, this is something that knowing about myself makes me much better to deal with about myself. Like, oh yeah, this is just a fact. I want to do everything all at once. When I travel, I want to like fit it all into like 4 days if I can, even if I'm going to the other side of the planet. I went to Australia for 8 days and everyone gave me weird looks. I was in New Zealand for 6 days last year. Everyone was like, why would you even, ? Because, again, condense things. Why have a week for somewhere when you can have 2 days? Why, you know, doing things faster, I guess, is efficiency is something that you can actually represent in Minecraft quite well a lot of the time. But also on top of that, by the way, this is the perfect gap. So we'll just have here, like, a last few blocks. How nice is that? Now we can just look at this from a distance. Up from there, maybe? The oil rig. There's no real proper vantage point around here, but we'll try our best. By the way, this is an oil rig. It's the worst oil rig, I know. But as you can see, now we've got a house. It floats. The only way on is cake staircases. And it looks pretty good so far. I think we need to work on the interior. But things are going well there, I'd say. But yeah, so as well as liking to do everything at once, I mentioned, like, you know, it's no news to anyone that, like, I Oh, phantoms have finally started spawning. Try and get to me, phantoms. They might be able to use that hole in the wall, actually. But yeah, you can see how I'm now safe from phantoms, as well as being safe from all the other mobs. Because try and get to me, skeleton. You can't. This is a safety dome from which I can see everything from a very decent distance, by the way. Except underwater. But again, we can fix that with just making holes in this thing. And they can't see me. For some reason, is it the light coming up from the lanterns? It can't be. It wouldn't make sense if the... I guess the light must be coming up from the lanterns because it's on that side of the thing only. But there's some over here. There's definitely no lantern down there. Right? Is there a lantern? There's not. Oh, it's the torch. Oh, maybe actually. Maybe the torch is... Because it's a half snap, the light can go through. That is fascinating. So yeah, maybe we've worked out a way to light things in very non-traditional ways too. But still, either way, you can see phantoms are trying to get me. They can't. That's the coolest part of what I've done right here. But now we have to work a little bit on the interior. My actual opinion here is a bit more like, do we really need to work on the interior? But let's give it a try anyway. So I've got some glass panes we're going to use as walls. Because there's no point having internal walls to your house that... Oh, maybe not start there. There's no point having internal walls in your house that you can't see through if the whole point is being safe, feeling secure. Because a lot of the feelings, a lot of the things that we call paranoia, some of them come from, like, one of the most common sources is psychosis, which is basically drugs. That's why so many drugs have paranoia as one of the side effects, or it's the other way around, I should say. But you know, like that's a thing that is you know, commonly ascribed, I would say, like the idea that, you know, there is a combination between those two things, which doesn't have to come from drugs. It's just a common side effect of the most common drug that people tend to do when they're teenagers. But as well as that, the other kind of common thing is, like, if you're from a unstable background, if you had, you know, if there was lots of distrust and whatnot amongst parents, that can eventually lead into the same things. And I think that's why, like, therapy, even for something as, like, minor as, like, just a part of your personality that doesn't gel with the world, can be a really smart thing, because if you're not able to realize by yourself. By the way, I'm thinking, like, would it make sense to put that under there? Or does that look a bit... I actually like how this looks. I just don't know if this is then going to spawn mobs, because there's a glass pane in the block, but it doesn't take up the entire block. So we'd have to work this one out by practice, which is kind of dangerous. Well, I'm willing to take that risk, although it's glass over creeper spawns that messes up a lot. I kind of like the floating glass thing. It looks very futuristic, but I think I might be alone in liking that. So yeah, we're going to use these glass panes as, like, the determining factors of what goes where. So this will be a large living room, for example. Over here can be some form of kitchen, I guess, that will separate along the wall. Oh man, it's so hard to place blocks around a glass pane. Also, are they meant to have, like, invisible ends here? Is this a bug, or is this just the new texture? Because it feels a bit weird either way that makes sense. But yeah, we'll have this go all the way to an end. I really like how this looks. I just don't know about the efficiency of it. But again, for now, we'll make that sacrifice and we can fix it later if it's a problem. Lots of things in Minecraft. Because again, even if you have a block like, I don't know, let's say a flower, even though the flower is transparent and therefore the mob shouldn't spawn on the flower, it can spawn on the block underneath the flower because the flower doesn't take up the whole block. So that might be an issue with these things too. But we'll see how that goes. So here's our kitchen room. We'll have, like, a furnace in there. For now, we'll represent that furnace with a piston. Because, I mean, pistons go in kitchen. Oh, we've got cakes. Even better. We can have a nice little cake chin. Yeah, cake chin is what we'll call this one right here. So we'll just have 4 cakes in the corner. This is what my kitchen looks like. I don't know about you guys. As well as a piston, which we have 19 of, as it turns out. So we'll have a piston be over here. That's my kitchen. See, when people make Minecraft interiors and they have to really stretch that, like, oh yeah, this staircase is totally, you know, like, I don't know, we'll make like a birch staircase. This staircase is basically, you know, like a sofa, which we'll do right now to entirely be hypocritical. But, like, it always is a bit like, you know what? You don't even need a sofa in Minecraft. Why'd you have to pretend so hard? Like, let's make the sofa in here, maybe? But we'll make the sofa in front of the wall. Like, why is this a thing? And then we'll have, like, a TV over here too. Wouldn't that be great? Oh yeah, look how... Oh wait, it's gonna be a widescreen TV apparently. I think we did it too close, but, like, yeah, look how realistic my TV looks in front of my sofa. And it's just like, you know, you don't need to try so hard, has always been my impression. I think we need, like, iron bars around this or something to make this actually go anywhere real. But no, we'll leave it like that because it's the paranoia house. I need to see the people as they watch my TV on their very real sofa, by the way, which they can hop onto. Oh, that's nice. There's a real use for it being a staircase now. But you see my point that I'm mentioning, right? Like, a lot of people have nonsensical furniture. The only furniture I want here is going to be actually properly useful. So we'll make sure that's a thing. So right here is going to be my very important, very official bathroom. You might think we have walls for that, but no, you do your business in public. I think this will actually be the spot right here. So you can see the kitchen and you can keep your eyes on that too. Also, because I think it's really hygienic to keep your cakes next to your bathroom place. So this is where you go to, like, I don't know, like, dispose of the drugs before a drug test. But then if you want the drugs later, you can still go back and get them. And you can sit here and look, it's totally a Minecraft toilet. Do you see how good my interior design skills are? Wow. Toy Cat, I know what you're thinking. You should design all the houses in Minecraft ever. Yeah, I know. I have the exact same thought. Anyway, so the key thing here is to make sure that the bedroom is going to be the maximal distance away from the door. So if something does somehow get past all the things we've gotten through, does somehow spawn, get through that, etc., climb through the door, press the button to get in through the door, of which, you know, that's a tricky thing to do. Then they can walk through. It should be the longest walk possible for them to get through my bed, so that if they do, they won't blow it up, killing me and resetting my spawn, because that would be painful, right? So this is why the bed is going to be maximally, located away from doors, just over, actually I think like at the back here, I think is the best place. Just in case there's something on the other side of the glass, we'll go a bit away from it, right here, and around the bed, because you better believe there's no such thing as just doing this one way. Around the bed, we're going to have some more glass panes, with the basic idea here being that mobs can't, correctly find over things like this, so they won't be able to, for example, jump from here over there. They can't make this sort of a jump, even though I can. They just try to walk it and they won't be able to. It's like mobs have auto jump enabled, but yeah, we can use this, jump on the bed to get over. Both ways, do this sort of thing. Wonderful. Now we've got the most secure bed we can have in Minecraft, the most secure house to go AFK or to work on anything in Minecraft. It's pretty nice. Although we do need to work out the rest of the walls here, so let's do precisely that now. So first of all, this is going to go here. It's going to create a whole mess as it does. Actually, we'll just link that in there. Say that that's perfectly what we even want right here. Yeah, I don't know if you can tell about my extreme, like, disinterest in Minecraft build interiors, but it's just the sort of thing that to me has never been interesting, because there's no use for any of it. The use for structure is, principally to be defensive, but it can kind of look good in that way. Interiors have never looked good to me. They just look different degrees of bad and different degrees of dysfunctional. In fact, the more rooms you add to your house, the less useful you make the few useful rooms, because they'll be further and further apart. This is why I live in a cave. This is why I'm building this house. But how often am I realistically going to be sleeping here? Because it's just not a thing I have a huge amount of interest in. And I don't mind telling you about that directly, even in a video where this is the main point, because it's a fun project, not because it's a wildly useful one, but because it tests the point of like, oh yeah, how paranoid can you make a Minecraft house? And the answer is very. And does it matter if I have furnaces or smokers or whatever in my kitchen, or if I just have a piston? Does it matter if I have a sofa and a TV, which no one is convinced by? Are you convinced by my sofa though? Pretty legit looking, right? These are the sorts of things that don't deeply and concerningly matter, which is why it's fun to take this to the next level anyway, because here are some note blocks I just crafted. It's actually a pretty easy recipe for note blocks. It's just 8 planks and a redstone. I always think that it must involve a diamond, but that's the jukebox. But yeah, what we can do now is somewhat cleverly, we can... Oh no! The shovel was too powerful. Oh my... See, what we can do, somewhat not cleverly, take that one back, is we can place some note blocks directly around on the 4 sides of the thing, except here apparently. Although really we could place it there and then move the piston to another block. Maybe we should do that. Yeah, we can move the piston to beyond the note block. But yeah, as we are very wildly cleverly doing, including note blocks just over here, these will be able to sound off if anything happens, as no doubt something eventually will. And yeah, we're gonna have to eat cakes again. The worst thing, I know. It's a good thing I have so many cakes, because the recipe is a real pain to master. But yeah, so here you can see we've got this kind of thing going on. Now we just surround these with pressure plates, and we make it impossible for any mob to get near here without making a noise. Because here you can see, you make a noise no matter where you stand. Anywhere on any side of any of these is going to have that exact same effect. You can't actually place a pressure plate on the note blocks and have the same effect, but still, I mean, This is pretty efficient as far as I'm concerned. Any one of these things is going to activate multiple in some cases, like this one. You hear that? Double note block sounds at the same time. And yeah, that's the goal there, is to just kind of make some form of alert. And yeah, what we're even going to do, because there are spots where multiple ones can go off, we're going to have these ones be super high-pitched, like this, have this one be low-pitched, and that way it hits both ends of your register at the same time. So you can hear this one right here, for instance. You hear that? It's got like a weird twangy sound. It sounds like alert, like, bad things are happening, which is what we want to believe, which is what we need to believe, rather. And that's kind of good, in my opinion. So yeah, let's eat some more cakes, and then we can basically say we made a pretty good paranoia house, right? Oh, there's one more key detail to add, actually. We need to make it so that if we're in our house, we should be able to see out from here, so that we can see where that little arrow is, and if we need to, where that button is. So we need to fire something at it and destroy the staircase, because there's some great threat down there I don't want to deal with. That's how we can do it. Also, it should also function as an escape hatch. So if we just want to get out and avoid all of that, it should do both those things. Although actually we can make it further away to make it a better escape hatch if that's one of our key design goals. That's right, you think the bathroom's useless, but really it's a clever way to hit the button and or to escape the house without being noticed. That's right, the bathroom might seem useless, although every Minecraft room is useless, so you're kind of wrong if you think that anyway. But really it's a way to hit the button or just to get out unharmed. Or quite harmed, actually. But that's fine. So this right here is a house that I think has a lot of really interesting parts to it. Obviously, you're not going to want to design this exact thing this exact way, but hopefully this video, if nothing else, even though you're not going to want to replicate this exact thing because you probably hate my interiors if you like Minecraft builds, but there's something about this you might have learned about how to make your house safer from mobs. Glass is a surprisingly effective tool in doing so. You know, glass not only makes it look like a modern skyscraper, but also adds kind of this. Not every block needs to be glass. That gives you 360 degree viewing windows, but still it can really help you. Having some form of like sound-based or light-based thing, like we have down here, is also kind of useful, right? Having some form of like, you know, redstone, mostly for other players, but like, if you just want to be fun by yourself and have a self-destruct button, why not add that as something kind of interesting, right? Taking note of light levels, so you know that no mobs can spawn below you. I've had no issues for the days, Minecraft days that is, the hours in the real world, but the hours or the Minecraft days we spent building this, because we perfectly perfected this, and even, again, the whole thing here is deliberately super stupid, but hopefully it taught you some real lessons anyway, because that's kind of what I like to do, you know? Deliberately stupid, but hopefully kind of useful. So first of all, we have the stopping mobs spawning near me in the first place. It is impossible for a mob to spawn anywhere within a decent distance of my house, whether I'm in there or not. If I'm in there, then the protection radius works. If I'm not in there, all of this lighting will work, because if it's daytime, nothing should spawn anyway. But even at nighttime, I've got that covered with these lanterns right here and the glass next to them. So I've got, you know, like the light sources sorted on both sides of this, so no mobs should spawn there. But because there's always the thing, you can never light up your entire Minecraft world, although it'd take a lot of torches, that might be a fun Mathcraft video. You can never light up your entire Minecraft world, right? However, because you're just going to run into more and more distances where you can't, but what you can do is you can light up a significant portion, but even outside of that, a mob might eventually spawn and then walk within your radius. So how do you protect against that? First of all, noise protection. If you're somewhat nearby, you're just focusing on something else, you hear this noise, you're like, what caused it? Was it a non-hostile mob like this pig? Kill them just to get rid of them anyway. Was it something else? You'll know for sure because you'll be able to see. Then have a staircase that mobs can't use, but you know you can. Again, you can use parkour for this. I just like the cake staircase because, I mean, it's a staircase made from cake. You get to eat it while you make it. But that's a fun thing to me. Then have your interior, have your bed be separated from the rest of your house to make it creeper-proof. Here you can see I can go to sleep. It's going to be a fine, functional bed. But also at the same time, I'm protected from mobs on all sides. Although if you want to be extra protected, I would, again, make it a bit trickier in case a mob does somehow get in the door or spawns in here or something along those lines. But yeah, having a protected bed, very important thing to do because if you're far away from spawn, at least I would say. And yeah, in general, have lots of viewing angles. Don't have dark corners of your house you can't see. And that's the point I'm making with this video. This isn't a practical, you should do this guide, although maybe it'd be better views if I said, no, actually, this is my new Minecraft house I'll live in forever. Actually, yeah, let's just say that. So remember, subscribe to the video on my channel, like my channel, subscribe to the video, so that you can see more videos in this house, which I'm going to be living in forever, because it's very functional, very useful, I think. I actually like this as like a design thing, like every corner has these things under them. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that, actually. Yeah, learned that just as I was doing my outro. But, yeah, I hope this video taught you something. It definitely wasn't about interior design, but it was about how to keep yourself safe. And if being safe isn't the most important thing in the world, I don't know what is. So thank you very much for watching this episode. Let me know your thought for the slightly weirder format, because I'm always trying slightly new things out, which is part of why I feel happy with what we do here on this YouTube channel. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, because I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.